Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us on the webcast this morning. We're going to be talking about leadership training, and presenting for us will be the Vivit chapter leader Godfather, Rocky Pisto. Thank you very much for your time today. If we move to the next slide in the deck, Rocky Pisto is our presenter today, also known as Don Rocco Pisto, also known as the Barber. Rocky has been with Vivit for a long time, and we'll get into a little profile on him shortly. But myself, I'm Jason Kennedy. I'm one of your directors with the Vivit organization, also been an active leader up in the Vancouver, British Columbia area for a number of years. And I just want to go through some quick housekeeping rules for everybody. This is a live session. We're recording it, and it'll be available to all Vivit leaders once we've put it online on the site. This will be a Q&A session, but what we're going to ask is that if you have questions, if you could type them in the question pane. In a moment we'll show you where that is. And what we're going to do is when we come to the end of the half hour, we'll address the questions then. We have a lot of material today. We may not get through all of it, so we'll, when we get to the end of the half hour that we've reserved for this discussion, we'll wrap it up then, answer any questions that have come up for Rocky at that point, and look forward to perhaps in the next quarter having a reprise of this discussion and picking up where we leave off for anyone who's interested in continuing that. But we really do ask all of you chapter leaders to let us know what questions you need answered by the Vivit leadership. We're here to support you. So when you do want to ask questions, you'll have a webinar control panel that you should see. It may minimize on you, and then there'll be a little orange arrow at the top that you can click on to toggle that out. Thank you very much, Rocky. And you can type your questions in the question area below, and Stephanie and I will get those questions. A signal will come up that there are questions for us to answer. We'll take a look at those questions. Excellent. And as I said, we'll address those questions when we get to the tail end. So, Rocky Pisto, Rocky, did you want to discuss your biography at this point, or did you want me to cover that?
Yes. No, I'll take care of it.
All right. Thanks, Rocky.
Thanks, Jason. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you're from. Like Jason says, I have a lot of material that I've kind of brought back to life for the last few nights, just basically wanting to share my experiences as being a chapter leader for a long time, and sometimes the little things it takes to make that happen. And as you can see, we're kind of playing off the Godfather thing. I think it's because I'm Italian, but that's the closest thing to the Godfather, at least from the negative sense that I'm familiar with. But just a little bit about me. I've been in sales for a long time for a company called PCI. I call it motivated sales. Got to pay the mortgage. And so I've got a lot of experience at persuading people to do things. I think it's, again, part of my Italian nature of sometimes you've got to push folks to make things happen. And I do consider this a family, so I do a lot of my events in the Ohio Valley, Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky, and a little bit in Chicago as well. I'm not sure if I said that, but so pretty active for a long time. I've been involved with Vivit. They kind of plucked me out of my chapter stuff and got me involved in the organization, and I've had a ball since as a board member, growing the membership, growing the chapter activity, getting people engaged, making long-time friends. So I want to share some of this passion that I have with you, and hopefully it'll rub off and it'll get you excited as well. So, and as you can see from all the awards stuff here, you're very much appreciated for the volunteer effort that you do for this organization. So the agenda that I have put together today, it's really around leadership. I tell people that, you know, to become a chapter leader, we want to grow your leadership skills. A lot of folks are technical in nature and not they're familiar with doing the technical stuff, but when it comes to the people skills or persuading others to do things, it may be a little difficult. Like I said, I've been in sales for a long time, so I have no problem with trying to persuade people because I think it's a good thing. So we're going to kind of teach you how to take control of your chapter and feel the power of becoming a chapter leader, because you do have control. How to persuade others to participate in your chapter the easy way, muscle. Well, maybe not that much muscle. How to find the hard-to-find venues to put on events. My success for all of this has been around trying to leverage our end users in our community to provide the facilities so we keep the costs down and those kind of things. But it gives them a chance to talk and present what they're doing if they like. So we'll get into that further down the road. How do you sell yourself and become an asset to the HP software community? It's called respect. I don't know about you, but sometimes, you know, if you do these kind of things long enough, everyone kind of takes you for granted. It's a job. But I'll tell you, once you're doing the things you need to do as a chapter leader, you are getting a lot of respect from the community. The folks from HP will be looking for you to help them bring the community together, and we'll talk about that later. So if you're willing to listen to me, I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse. So we've asked Stephanie, Jason, who has done a great job of working with the chapters and SIGs this year. They came up with asking you folks questions about, you know, what do you want to know? What are things that you want to cover if we had the time to cover them? So we have a list of those, and we'll go through some of that. Some of it is basically training on the website and those kind of things, but I'm going to try to hit the stuff that you know, takes some people skills. And we can coordinate future things, or you know, Stephanie will work with you to give you some admin training on how to do things on the website. It's new for all of us as we move to this new platform. Local chapter leader requirements. We'll talk about what your role in all this and how important it is. The value of Vivit, a leadership position. So believe me, this may be a different hat than you're used to or you have today, but you become a cog in our wheel, if you will, of the HP software ecosystem, and the possibilities are great for you. So we're going to talk a little bit about how to effectively run a meeting and make you the Don for your local chapter. So here are some of the questions that we were getting from leaders. And, you know, where do I start? How do I pay for meetings? And I think I've broken these things out separately, so I'm going to go right to the slides. So where do I start? Well, you start with Stephanie. Stephanie is your Vivit Global Chapter Liaison. She works the website. She teaches you how to use the website to create events, to keep track of the user community. Each chapter typically has a database already for you that we've built based on your geography. That's part of your profile, that they've either went into the Vivit website or they participated in some kind of Vivit activity, and they're listed as a member. They may not be associated with your chapter because the chapter may not have existed. So you get access to all of those people, and whether it's HP, whether it's partners and users, whatever, they're part of your community that you can promote events to. As well as Jason. Jason is a longtime chapter leader, now on the board of directors and focused in the chapter and SIG area. And he's another great resource because he's leading this area. It's good for Jason to know what your needs are, so he can kind of bring that to the board and suggest things that we can do to make this more, provide better services for you. We always come up with new things to improve, and nothing changes. Third thing is leverage the Vivit website. There's a chapter and SIG leader area. When you signed up to become a chapter leader, you'll see a number of chapters that, you know, whether it's one state or multiple that you're interested in, and then there's a little group for chapter leaders, and that's our little area to put in this presentation and other documentation to help you with your chapter. So take a look at that. And again, I recommend that if you need a refresher, or you're new to Vivit and you want to get a feel for how to, how this stuff works, work with Stephanie to provide training events. We also have a link on the website in that same area I was talking to you about that basically it's a website presentation, video training. I'm more visual than I am reading things, so it's a great way to learn how to use the website. How do I pay for meetings? Sponsors. Well, you don't. I don't want leaders, and it's always been a philosophy of Vivit, that the leaders put a lot of work into facilitating these events. It should be no cost to the leaders to put on the events. So, how do you make things happen? Well, you work very closely with the HP field teams, the sales teams, the solution partners. HP marketing gets involved. They're doing a lot of road shows from a marketing perspective these days, and basically they're doing the event, obviously for HP, but they want Vivit involvement. They want us to invite the community. So in that case, there's no charge, but also, and I'll talk about logistics later, but I try to reduce the cost as much as possible. In other words, I'll put on an event at a customer site or someplace where there's no charge for the room, and then have a sponsor, an HP solution partner, or HP pay for lunch or pay for coffee or whatever the venue is. So if you're having problems in that area, get back to Stephanie and they'll coordinate activities for you. How do I know who's in my chapter? Well, back to the website. When you select your chapter that you may have, you hit this group admin option, and it brings up this pull-down menu, and one of the areas is membership management. You'll see a copy where it says view chapter members, pending members, all that kind of stuff. So you'll get a chance to see, how many members are in your chapter. Are they people you know? Are there people you know that should be a member of the chapter? And it'll help you keep track of that environment. So that's the place to find out who's in your chapter. How do I invite them? Well, again, that same portal you went into for that chapter, you did the group admin options, clicked on that, and down below you'll see an area that says message groups, email all group members. So there's a number of ways to communicate. It's changed with the new website, but there are ways to make that happen. And again, I just want to at least point you to this where you can send out emails to the group or to specific people. There's a dialogue area within that chapter where you can send out a note and everybody in the chapter will see it. So there's a number of ways to do that. If you need more, again, check, do the training, and worst case, touch base with Stephanie and you'll get to that area. How do I grow my chapter? Well, that's a good one. And there's a lot of things you can do. And again, this is part of your leadership personality coming up. The first thing I would do, and I've always done, is I built a list of HP personnel, and not just from my area. Anytime I engage an HP person, whether it's in support, marketing, sales, solution architects, whoever, I put them on an email list, and I call it HP. So every time I put out an event, if I'm not already working with HP to put on the event, I will send this note saying, look, I'm putting on an event. Here's where it is. Here are some of the topics. If there's something else that's new that we need to talk about in this area, please let me know and provide the resources. And believe me, you'll get your deck filled pretty quickly with new product announcements and those kind of things. And in the old days, when we were the OpenView Forum, we had 2 products. So sometimes you wonder, what are we going to talk about? Even then, we had plenty to talk about, the good, the bad, the ugly, working with the product. So feel free to find out who these people are. We can help you with it as well. It's a dynamic, moving list because HP personnel are coming and going, as most people do in large companies as they evolve their careers from one entity to another. So we do our best to work with our liaisons at HP to provide these people to you from whatever particular angle we can find them. Providing content that will engage and provide value, that's pretty key. You can't have marketing presentations where, whether it's HP or solution partners up there talking about their product without a discussion around how this is going to help and here's how it works in the real world kind of thing. So I try to find, wherever possible, people within my community that are members of my group, users that use the tools, kind of give us a talk on what they're seeing with this upgrade, for example, or where are they seeing issues or what's working well for them. It's all about networking. It's all about learning from each other. It's real-world end-user experience. So sometimes people don't like to talk. They go, well, I don't have time. Turn it into a panel discussion. Get 4 or 5 people to talk about a topic, or have people ask questions, or have questions in advance by sending out a little survey. We're going to have this roundtable discussion, panel discussion. What questions do you want to ask them? And that way everyone's better prepared. And you have a dialogue going back and forth, which makes this very interactive, very personal, and very exciting to continue on. I constantly try to, when I have time, to proactively ask questions from my community. What do you want to know? How are things going? So that I have a pulse on the activity that's going on or the experience that end users are having. And it's not always about software. It's about personalities, about, not partners, but management. It's everything all around you. We always have something that we need therapy for, I guess. But then you bring those to the forefront. People talk about it. You start having things in common. So don't put a gun to their head, but be persuasive and saying, look, I really want to know what's important to you, what's important to your career. And let's see if we can bring it out in the open and we can all learn from it. Who are my sales and marketing representatives? And like I said, that's a very good question. It's a target that just keeps moving on. We have got probably the best relationship with HP that we've ever had. So we have a lot of, Vivit now is subliminal within the HP ecosystem. So they tend to know who we are. They will tend to know who you are and what you provide as a service to the community. So again, work with our team if you're having a hard time. But if you're an end-user customer, there should be somebody from HP visiting you. Or there should be partners visiting you that have relationships with the HP reps in the area. These are all great resources to help provide content for your next event. And, the beauty of Vivit, as I see it, with all the changes that goes on with one of the largest IT organizations in the world, is that our value to HP is consistency. Jason's been a chapter leader out in Vancouver for years. I've been doing mine here in the Midwest for the last 10, 11 years. So we provide consistency of bringing the community together. And this is a valuable asset to HP. And again, when you're presenting, any updates that you see on the HP, on the Vivit website of things we're doing or want to do, you should be providing that to your community. Let them know where the website is. I know that they have to register on it, but a lot of times they may not be looking at it. But we have a lot of content. It's dynamic. And I kind of just did a quick poke at some of our reports last night, and there was 8,000 people that have gone to our website over the last 30 days looking for this or that kind of content. So you are part of a global organization. You're one piece of the pie, but you're bringing global Vivit HP type information to the community. Chapter leader requirements. When you sign these documents, the goal here was that you had at least 2 networking events a year. That is a requirement. We need you to bring people together. Webinars really don't count. I mean, they do bring people together, but it's not the networking type. And if you're having a problem trying to make that happen, you got to let us know. Today there's so many topics to cover, and I would suggest that you cover the ones that you are comfortable with. If there are other topic areas within the HP portfolio that you're not comfortable with, you can send out a note to the chapter and say, hey, who's comfortable with PPM? Or who's comfortable with the testing environment or the ops environment? And see if you can draw other people to kind of lead that segment to support the HP community. We are the official user group for HP software, so we cover every piece of software from the management side that they offer through our channel. And again, we bring consistency. You're going to be seeing a lot more from Vivit as we move forward. So make sure that you have these meetings and constantly get feedback from your end users. I mean, do a survey after a meeting. What do they like? What don't they like? What would they like to see? My goal when I plan a meeting is to have the next meeting lined up with speakers. Okay, I would say, oh, it's your turn to host the next event. You've been coming for the last 2 years, and it's always been this company or that company. You're doing it this time. And if you can present whatever you want about what you're doing with the tools, represent your company, all great stuff. So knowing what goes well, what doesn't go well, it's all a learning curve. I never have perfect events. I do a lot of events. Some are duds and some aren't. And some people say, look, I've only got 3 people registered to the event. Do I still have it? My answer is yes, because you're bringing 3 people together that could probably really get to know each other pretty good if they're the only ones in the room, and they want to be there. And again, you have questions, you come back to us and say, ask us how we can help you. So how do we get the spark back? If you've done this for a while and you're getting tired of it, or it's just things are changing, as we know with HP, again, talk to the members, learn as much as you can. If you've got the time, for me, it's all about networking. The more I know about people, the closer we're going to become. Some of my best friends now are from the Vivit community. So again, it's ask questions. It's key to doing anything effectively. Is this a career? I ask people all the time, is this a career for you or just a job? And you kind of get a feel for where they're going with it, and maybe they need to know that there's a lot of the skills. There's not enough skill set out there. I hear it all the time. HP or customers are looking for people to do these jobs, and they're just not out there. And our job is to help educate you to take advantage of these opportunities in your career. And again, ask them what gets them excited about working with the tools. Mentor them. So, if it's in an area that you're familiar with and you can give them some pointers, it's a great thing for both of you. You'll feel good for doing it. They'll appreciate it. You've got a friend for life. Take advantage of the networking opportunities. My 5 steps to successful meetings. Make sure you got a good technical lead, or as I call them, the concierge here. I'm a marketing guy. I'm great at facilitating things, but I know the first keystroke on what to do with the products. So I make sure I listen to people that know what's important about the products to find presentations or topics and those kind of things. Finding locations. I have a whole process around why an end user should present at Vivit events, why it's important to them. And if we get time, I know we're running close here already, aren't we, Jason? We can dive into these kind of areas, logistics, leveraging HP resources. They're learning stuff all the time to bring updates for you to for your chapter. But this is just more discussion around topics. Technical roundtable sessions where there's no actual presentation. Just get together, talk. You may not have these kind of people waiting on you, but have a beer. It loosens people up. It's a great place to have some knowledge transfer, talk about topics. Again, long-lasting networking relationships. And again, I've got a whole process here of why host and present. Because the people that are hosting and presenting, they need to sell what they're doing to their management team. Invite your management team. Invite the silos that are fighting you now because they don't think you know what you're doing or they don't want you to get involved. They come into that room and they see all these other companies, from the folks from all these other companies in the room, they're listening to you. You may get a little more respect out of your own business units and silos. and maybe learn the value of the technologies that you've mastered. So I use the power of persuasion that it's important for them to do this for their own benefit. Here's an example. Larry Dragage, AAA, one of my accounts up in Michigan. All of a sudden, he's being asked to write about APM. He uses the HP tools. He uses other stuff as well, but he loves doing this. He gets calls. People ask him questions. And before you know it, I mean, this guy's put on events for me in his facility. And you'll see his article in our next newsletter, because I said, Larry, this is great exposure for you and for your company. Let's go through Vivit. And sure enough, we'll be doing that as well. But, you know, if you're good at writing, we need those bloggers. We need that content to share with our users. Again, engaging presentations. There's a lot of successful companies out there, or a lot of companies using the product successfully. Again, the whole thing about presenting it and why it's important to them. Take advantage of your partners. There's a ton of third-party product solution partners that sell products that tie into your solutions from HP. They've always got new announcements. They talk about integrations. They can talk about the level of you know, the experience, the end-user experience of how to use these tools. And there's a million topic areas. And actually, one of our leaders asked if we wanted to do a webinar on some e-learning stuff to kind of share his experience with building, learning, so basically documentation to share with others once you've developed the process. So check out HP has a solutions partner website. We also have we have a list of key Vivit partners on our website that are looking to support your local chapter efforts as well. And here's just a glimpse of that site. If you just click over here under partners, and you'll see a partner directory, and there's a number of there that we work very closely with. You go to the HP website, just type in HP partner, Google HP software partner, and you'll get to this area, which gives you a directory of the partners in all the regions and the kind of partners they are, the various technologies that you could be presenting or have someone present to support the whole ecosystem. Working with the sales.
Rocky?
Yes.
Sorry. That's Jason Kennedy. Just interjecting here. We've got 2 minutes left at this point, and
okay.
Actually probably a good segue with this slide here. We have a couple of questions I'd like to bring forward in the last couple of minutes, if that's all right, Rocky?
It's your show.
Okay. The first question I have is from Christopher Scher. Christopher's one of our directors. He's our education chair. He's also chapter leader for Iowa, Nebraska, and the TQA SIG. And Christopher is suggesting that might be a good idea to mention when the HP quarters are, because that does determine when it's easier or more difficult to get a hold of HP employees. Rocky? Yeah,
that's a very good point. When you're planning your events, you try not to do it towards the end of their quarters. And HP's fiscal year starts November 1st. So just think of a month up for each quarter, and that's when their quarter ends, because they're spending the last couple of weeks going after opportunities. They're leveraging their solution architects. So just follow it from November 1st. And so that'll the end of the first quarter then is like what, February, let's see, November to December to January to February. So March 1st starts the new quarter, I guess. No, it'd be February 1st. Whatever. So just keep that in mind. See, when it comes to math, I'm an artist, not a numbers guy. So another question?
Thanks, Rocky. And I guess the other side of that is always check with your HP reps, and they're happy to tell you when their quarters come up, because they're very excited to be talking to you immediately before their quarters come up. So that's a good way to double check that as well.
Give them 6 weeks notice. I mean, I try to give them 6 weeks notice of when I want to do something, and they'll tell me what's available. So you work together with the team.
Perfect. If there are any other questions, please feel free to type them in, send them in. We're just about out of time here, but I did have one other question for you, Rocky, from our Michigan chapter leader, who is wondering what the going rate for protection is these days.
Mr. Clark, that'll be a side conversation.
Perfect. Well, we're at our time, and I don't see any other questions from folks, but I would encourage you, if you have any feedback on this session, any further questions for Rocky, Stephanie, or myself, please send them directly to us, and would also encourage you to get to us if you are interested in having a continuation of this conversation. And yes, I've just been reminded to encourage all of you to vote in our elections. So please go to the Vivit website and vote for the next group of directors for Vivit Worldwide. And one more quick question or comment from Mark Laird, asking to mention the HP Software Universe in London, May 8th to 9th. And with that, I'm going to thank you all very much for spending your time with us this morning, afternoon, or evening, depending where you are, and look forward to opportunities to see you all in person again soon. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Take care.